Hi, Tetsi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So glad to have you here. And first of all, let me just tell you that we're extremely, extremely proud of you because you've built a sustainable business and I was just telling the audiences, it's not just loved here. My friends from around the world, they love brown living. So thank you so much for doing this for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all the love and appreciation. This is exactly what keeps us going.
Great. So, Chetsi, let me just begin by telling everyone tuning in today that we know that brown living it represents soil, the color of soil, and everything raw, everything organic. But what was your motivation behind starting the business?
The basic motivation was to make the life for sustainable consumers easy. And I was one of them when I started out, and it was quite hard to identify, products whether they were truly sustainable or not. How do you know if a brand is just using the name of green or eco-friendly, or just making claims, which I think was a big gap for me. And that's when I started doing a lot of deep dives. I started learning about sustainability myself, did a lot of courses, asked a bunch of brands a lot of questions on where do they source, how do they produce, what kind of people do they employ, what does sustainability mean for them, and everybody had a lot of different definitions for sustainability. So I think for me, the main goal was how do we simplify sustainability and how do we make it easy for people like me who want to make an impact. And I also found a lot of people like myself in that journey. So I said, okay, this is not just a small problem for a really small segment of the community. So let's solve it at scale. And that's when we decided to launch a platform that affects, oh, many people at once.
Absolutely, but I can't imagine that would have been easy for you. So, what did the journey look like? How long has it taken you to build? So what were the core principles of sustainability that you boiled it down to?
Yeah. Uh, One thing that we were always very strict about was that we don't want to allow any more plastic in the ecosystem for us, right? Because there's already so much plastic that's out there. And also, it's a it's a great material, but there's a lot of gray areas in the way you use it, in the way it leaches microplastics when it interacts with other materials or other, forms of like water, for example, or, fire, for example. So, we said that okay, there's already too many people creating that plastic based products. So how do we remove plastic entirely from the equation? And so the first step was okay, we need all plastic free products. The second was we wanted it to be an all vegetarian brand as well, because that's something that I personally follow. And I've been vegetarian all my life, but growing up I also realized that the kind of impact meats and non-veg eating has on the planet. So it just made me, feel strongly about uh, having those ingredients. There's many layers to it. Like there's the whole cruelty aspect of it. There's also, why do you need to kill another being for your pleasure? So there's so many layers to being vegan or vegetarian, and especially I think in India it's a largely prevalent ideology that a lot of families are vegetarian for us, for health or for the planet health, or for because they have animals and they love animals, they want to be kinder to them. So I think that those are the two things that we said will be the base. And then we built a framework around it where we wanted to have values of social impact as well. So we started looking at what kind of people do these companies employ? Do they engage in fair wage? Do they ensure that price tables for these products are fair or not? So we don't accept heavy discounting as well. We don't do your flash sales. We make sure that whatever the product is worth should be paid. We also ensure that products are not exorbitantly priced. So the accessibility from like having access to it quickly versus also being able to afford it. Those were some key, you know, metrics that and value systems that we thought we should have. And putting all of this together, I thought that these are too many things to talk about, so we gave it a name. The name is called the Brown Lens. It's the lens through which we look at every product, every brand, every company we work with, every community that we work with. And I think the Brown Lens encapsulates an ideology of sustainable living, which looks at the devil is in the details, essentially. Um, and this is also why our company is called Brown, because we and this is a very interesting story, and I'd love to share it. That I was reading up about sustainable farming, and I was watching a lot of documentaries, and there was this one particular dialogue that stayed with me from this film on Netflix called Sustainable, uh, where this farmer is saying that, if I need to change my fertilizer made farm into an organic one, I need to first work with my soil, and I need to work on it for at least 7 to 8 years to ensure that the soil's health is recovered, so that I can get an organic certification. Right, which meant that he had to really get into the details of what goes into soil, what kind of water is used, what kind of seeds are used to sort of replenish the nourishment in the soil. And because we were getting into so many details about products, I said, okay, let's draw a parallel to this and call it brown and not green, because everybody is calling their products green. But really, we want to get into details. We want to understand. We want to work with people. We want to work with people at the grassroots level. So let's call it brown. And so you'll see across all our visuals, the imagery is green, but the word is brown, because that's the intention of where we are. And really, I think to be able to explain all of this in a very concise manner is one of the biggest challenge we faced. So I think the brand name and the framework has really helped us do that. So it instantly like gets you to think like, okay, this is a holistic approach, and it's not just looking at one part of the problem, which is where a lot of people sort of drop off. So yeah.
That's so true. Firstly, like that's a beautiful story, and that does really put an imagery to your mind. It makes things real, and also, I think it's great that very simply, but you have really drawn parallel, and the ethos of the company represent the sustainable development. Because you talked about equal opportunity, you talked about accessibility. So that's brilliant. So currently, like, how many brands approximately do you have on Brown Living?
Uh, that's an evolving number. I think on the platform you will see over 500 brands live. We also have a very detailed onboarding process, which means that even before a brand goes live, we work with them. We try to help them with materials, with packaging, to find solutions with their existing product and see how we can make it more sustainable. So I think that pipeline is much bigger, which is another 800 brands that we're currently in conversation with and working with. So a lot of brands think that, hey, I'm not already there yet, so I can't come on Brown Living. Well, the idea is to get you there. So we encourage them to give us information about what they're trying to do, and see if we can add any value and if we can help them in any way. So that pipeline keeps building, and then we keep making connections. We keep connecting them with suppliers, with people in the network who could probably help them with branding or whatever that company needs to succeed in sustainability is what we're trying to do for the sellers. And for the consumers, I think one thing that stands out for us is that we really are very, very strict about what we curate. So for the consumers, it's an assurance of sorts that whatever you find on Brown Living is verified by a human person, by with scientific methods put in place through the Brown Lens. And also, we don't send any plastic to our consumers. So everything that's shipped to them, right from the product itself to its materials to how it's packaged to how it's delivered to you at your doorstep, all of that is without any plastic. So I hope that answers.
That's amazing. On a scale of 1 to 10, how easy or difficult has it been for the brands to take that journey with you?
I think um, that's not something I can answer, but if you really put me on the spot, I would say we are at 7. I also feel like there's a lot of technical changes that we need to do to our systems and processes, which we're working on. So we're not like perfect, but we're also, I think, the intention is there, and we've got a very passionate team that's always giving improvements to the current process, and always like with the more people we talk to, the more we realize that there are newer segments that we also need to address. Like when we began, we were only catering to personal care and home decor. Today we have categories like furniture, like fashion, like kids games, you know, everything under. We have like phone covers, like we don't have gadgets, but we have like gadget accessories that are made with recycled or upcycled materials. So there's, I think the intention is the newer categories we get into, the more we understand in depth about that specific industry. We're also in the process of working with a few service providers. So working with recyclers, working with people who train people on how to compost or how to set up rainwater harvesting, and those are a larger community of people that we're trying to work with. We're working with eco resorts, and working with hotels who want to sort of reduce their waste at a systemic level. A lot of corporates want to do that. So with every new stakeholder being added, we're learning every day, and I think how do we plug uh, our sellers and our curation to all of these applications is what we're working on. We're a small team, just 10 people sitting in a little office in Bombay, and think we do get a lot of support, but the intention is to be better every day. And yeah, so inviting anyone who's interested to sort of help us grow, always happy to collaborate, always happy to like work with people who have a perspective on this. And yeah.
Like great journey there. One of the ethos that I also read about was carbon neutrality, and that Brown Living believes in offsetting the carbon footprint through growing trees. So, could you talk about that aspect of the business as well?
Yeah, I started with so I've been planting trees for many years. I think I was one of the people in college who started this initiative for an NGO, and then I realized how much I love like working with the soil and working with my hands. Sorry, what call? I was saying that it. I think planting trees is such a simple way of explaining carbon credits, because carbon credits, again, like sustainability, is a very complex topic, right? People don't understand how do you measure something you cannot see, and b how do you then first measure it and then sort of offset it.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people have figured out that tree plantation effectively has great benefits. There is no real harm in planting a tree unless it's a poisonous one in an urban setting. So I really got into the uh, understanding of flora fauna, and how like planting a particular type of tree or type of sapling can really nourish the soil. So I took up this challenge of like associating the business goal with planting a million trees, so that we're always, it's not just about selling more sustainable products, but really ensuring that while we are reducing waste, we are also giving back in more ways than one. So we, at the end of the month, whatever, how much ever transport our products have, like how much ever transport we've used in terms of sending our products, shipping our products across the country, we calculate the emissions out of that, and then we've tied up with growtrees.com that has a very scientific and verified and certified way of planting trees. They also organize community sessions. They educate the local people about what native trees and plants should be uh, put there, and they work with community. So they found out a way to digitize tree plantations. And so we said, okay, we are a digital platform. Let's collaborate and let's figure out how we can do this at scale. So every order that you make, if you want to make it a carbon neutral order, you can plant a tree by just adding like the 99 rupee per tree as a contribution. Essentially, what we do is we we plant those trees from our end. But if you want to help us, in that contribution, then you can add on as well. So every tree offsets about 20 kilos of carbon per year upon maturity. Typically, which means that if you plant a tree today, within 3 to 4 years, it will mature and then it starts offsetting carbon over time because it becomes of a certain age. And the communities that work on ground ensure that these trees and these saplings are taken care of. They are watered. But once they've grown to a certain scale, the nature starts doing its work and they need less care. So just to make sure that it's like giving birth to a baby, in the first 2 3 years you need to really take care of it. So really the money that goes in is to ensure that that cost is covered of maintaining and running those projects, and then it's given to maybe the forest department or like a local municipal corporation, so that they can ensure that they are not cut or they are not sold to like a real estate developer for like cutting it back again. And that's the whole process which I really liked, and I thought that this would be a great direct environmental impact that we could have. We're also in the process of working with data centers. So, considering we're a tech company, we do a lot on the cloud. We have an entire e-commerce system. So, a lot of data centers are engaged, and whatever sort of footprint that has, we're trying to calculate that and offset that as well. Again, a lot of these things are very hard to measure. So far we've only been able to offset our transport footprint, but there are many other layers that we're now trying to measure. And then also these learnings we will share with our larger community of sellers so that they can offset as well and help us do this as well.
Awesome. So can you please share with us how many trees has Ground Living planted so far?
28,734 so far. Uh,
Brilliant.
last last month figure, and I think we should. Our goal is for 2024 financial year to do at least double of that. So we're hoping we reach number, and I think a million too far. Let's see.
That is brilliant. Now, I'd also like to know, what all inspirations has this drawn from your personal life? So, just as somebody who believes in sustainability and green living, what are some of the things that you personally believe in, and you try and follow in your personal life?
Uh, I I don't know. I feel like it's an extension of me, the whole company and the whole values. So if you come to our office, you'll probably understand that everybody is really scared of bringing in a plastic bag or anything with plastic. The minute something comes, layered in bubble wrap, we're like, oh my god, don't show it to Jetsi. I'm in for most part of my life have been, and uh, I'm also like I'm vegan on most days when I'm not traveling. I'm completely vegan. It's hard to do, and so I have been fluid. There was a time when I was completely vegan and I had like a lot of drop in vitamins and whatever. So I'm trying to balance that in a way. And yeah, I think we compost at home. I'm very conscious about electricity. So whenever, as soon as I leave the room, I sort of make sure I put lights off, don't take long showers, uh, just things like that. And we're also trying to set up a like a herb garden in our own building so that we can start growing our own food. I've studied permaculture, so I'm trying to learn how to grow our own food so that sustainability is not just about like consuming sustainable, but also learning how to be self-sustainable as a family. So we're trying to learn things that help us grow our own food so that we're less dependent on external factors that affect us. And COVID has taught us a lot in that regard. I'm trying to learn basics of like how to um, make dyes so that we could like reuse and dye our own clothes, for example. So yeah, there's a bunch of things that I also know how to make soap. So I learned to make um, soap soaps to use on the body, and a couple of like skincare nuskhas that my dadi had taught me, like face scrub stuff. So yeah, I don't
That,
use makeup.
oh,
I don't. Yeah, whenever I'm traveling, you'll always find me with my bottles and containers, and I'm always carrying my food as much as possible. So
that's great. I think these are the simplest of things that, often they go unnoticed, but I think they make a huge difference. I'd love to share that my father actually has planted a house garden, and we get a lot of our greens right here from our own home. And yeah, I try and take one, like I always have my own water bottle, so I make sure that I never have to purchase one outside. And again, my mom makes sure that I always have my own food, so that as less I have to purchase from outside. And it's always better to have home cooked food even while you're traveling. So I think these are just small things that I think everybody can adopt in their lifestyle to bring about these little changes, and you can probably call them sustainable as well. So that's great. Chetsi, what does the future of brown living look like? What?
there's a lot of things that we want to do, and that's why we're always asking for help, right? We are a profit making social enterprise, but uh, the whole idea of doing something that impacts a larger community, it actually requires much more than just money. We need community support, we need policymaker support, we need a lot of that. So I think in the next 5 years, you will see Brown Living starting shipping globally. That's one. We're just trying to figure out the carbon offset piece of it, because the whole idea is to not create more, waste in transport. And we're also working on a few other verticals. So we're working on like creating a lot of educational content uh, to simplify concepts of sustainability. Uh, we're thinking of like working with schools and colleges on integrating sustainability as part of our education system, because that's when real systemic change will happen, and that's already happening in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of like confusion and misinformation. So we're working with educators to create and craft courses, workshops that can be either done at a school or a college or a corporate that has the intention, and effectively then see those basic models, and how do we sort of expand that to a larger system of education. And we don't want to be an edtech company, but essentially like integrate with existing systems that uh, have and can make an impact at a larger scale. And I think the third big thing would be that we we want to support more and more artisans directly. Currently, we work with sellers who work with artisans indirectly. So um, there's a lot of times that the artisan doesn't end up getting a larger share of the wallet. So the intention is to do outreach programs and work directly with communities, get designers to work directly with these craftsmen so that they can work on Indian heritage craft as well as create designs for urban India. So imagine wearing khadi like in a sexy uh, outfit or a bikini, for example. I'm just like throwing you ideas here, but so the concept of sustainable materials has always been this particular vibe where it's loose, it's like very journalist type vibe. But we want to change that perception that sustainable can also be sexy, it can also be fun, it can also be fashionable, and at the same time it can be sustainable. So uh, I think the intention is to work with different communities to bring together this idea that how design and how impactful materials can be brought together to make designs for new India, products for new India, and that's something that we're actively working on. So we have an artisan outreach program. We're looking for volunteers who can help us really work in those communities locally, and on the other end we want to work with designers. So we're working with students and alumni of design schools to really start thinking differently about products, and how do we sort of make a change at a larger scale and really take those solutions to a larger market. So not just make sure that they're lab experiments or projects, but really become full-fledged businesses. So accelerating them is something that I'm very passionate about, and we want to implement that as Brown Living and really be that one ecosystem that supports anything that is in the sustainability space from a consumption standpoint.
Empower people in this journey, and you're taking it together with you. So before we sign off, I have last two questions for you, and would love it if you can make them super quick. So first, top three brands that you yourself use or would recommend to our listeners.
Um, there's Bombay Hemp Company. I think those were the first ones that I started using because I had like joint pains. But I also discovered that they had then started at that time a brand called B Label that makes hemp clothing, very fun, very lightweight, very easy to wear. So I like that for fashion. And I think for um bags and accessories, I really like Reimagined and Recharka because they've got a very great solution and very cool design. So I think Recharka does. They take plastic wrappers and make bags, accessories with it. So I have a lot of planters from there, and these are things, of course, that don't interact with water in a big way because you have another pot inside. And yeah, these are the three. I think I've named four, so these are my four favorites.
Brilliant. Finally, what is one piece of advice that you would like to leave for all the listeners who either started on a journey to lead a better or a sustainable lifestyle, or people, who are just looking for some motivation to begin?
I would say start with the problem. So I recommend this to everybody who asks me this. That how do I start? I would say that start with a waste audit. So start looking at your dustbin. What are the things that you're throwing away? Are they wrappers? Are they packaging for food? Are they whatever it is, right? And once you start looking at that on a daily basis, you'll realize that there's a lot that is just absolutely unnecessary. Like if you buy vegetables from a store which comes in a cling wrap packet, uh, there is definitely a local street vendor who can give you the same good quality vegetable without the packaging. If you're buying a lot of like groceries or supplies for your house, there are lots of zero waste grocery stores. There are lots of kirana stores that will give it to you in your own containers. So you just have to take your Tupperware or whatever containers you have in your homes, whether it's steel containers or whatever that you've been using in your kitchens. You can just carry them and ask them to give it to you by weight. It's actually cheaper. It actually also allows you to reduce the wastage of that particular material as well. So I would say start with a waste audit. Start looking at what you're consuming in your home and how can you make it healthier, waste free, and reduce waste in general. Once I think this has been a beautiful exercise that we've done in our homes, and it's really started like make everybody think differently about materials and about what we consume on a daily basis. So I think a waste audit is supremely essential if you're just getting started. If you're already somewhat doing it, then I would say just keep exploring and don't buy anything new till you really need it. But if you do need it, try to look for a sustainable alternative. And of course, you can try and look for it on Brown Living. If you can't find it on Brown Living, tell us so that we'll find one for you. And we'll recommend that as well.
That was truly brilliant. Thank you so much, Chetsi, for doing this for us. And to all the listeners, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. And if you have any more questions, queries for us, do send us, put them in comments, and we'll make sure that we answer your questions. So thank you so much.
Thank you.